At the T-minus 3-minute mark, tape recorders on board the spacecraft were turned on. These recorders record both voice and data. Now building up to 7.7 million pounds of thrust. And we have a liftoff. Moving back. The Saturn V lifting off with power.
This is WOMMLP operating out of Burlington, Vermont, 105.9 the Radiator. Good evening. It's the Rocket Shop, and I am your host, Tom Proctor. With me tonight is Ariel Zevon with Gahlord Dewald. Hello, guys.
Hi.
How are you both this evening?
Well,
Doing all right.
well enough.
Good. I feel like some of the weather is tinged for that answer.
It's a little bit tingy.
It is a bit dingy tonight. Well, hopefully you guys will brighten all of our spirits. We do like...
Good luck with that.
I've got some bad news.
I'll take that laughter as confirmation of that. We do really like starting with a song. So if you'd like to introduce your first piece and take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
I was just gonna
Suggest?
No. Let's just do digitize and
We have a little mini medley
we've got a
to
little-
start,
Yeah, we'll do that one. And then,
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic.
which is Digitize My Heart and Detangler, which are off of the album The Detangler, but revisited anew with Gahlord Dewald. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
Okay. I'm just a soulful girl in a diamond's world, searching for tenderness from a touchscreen kiss. Digitize my heart, skip ahead, rewind, get back in, restart, numerize my mind. Wandering through skyscrapers, everyone's getters and takers. Keep searching for a drop of sunshine in a city of grit and grime. Digitize my heart, skip ahead, rewind, get back in, restart, numerize my mind. Analyze my emotions using binary encryptions. Feel the heat of my skin. Don't eject, just let me in. Digitize my heart, skip ahead, rewind, get back in, restart, numerize my mind. I am of flesh and bone, I can't survive alone. No plug, no reboot. Lay me down to take root.
I'm entangled with the detangler. Get the detangler. Need to detangle. You are the stain on my heart, the cloud in my brain. Been blind from the start, yet to part seems insane. I'm entangled with the detangler. Get the detangler. Need to detangle. I'm entangled with the detangler. Get the detangler. Need to detangle. Your breath gives me wings. I'm wearing your size. One word sends me reeling. All I know are goodbyes. I'm entangled with the detangler. Get the detangler. Need to detangle. I'm entangled with the detangler. Get the detangler. Need to detangle. Your fears are my tears are your tears rust my gears. We're so entwined, all in a bind, makes me whine. I'm entangled, you're entangled, we're entangled. Get the detangler. I'm drenched in your stuff, I'm tossing you mine. Sorry's not good enough, let's commit and entwine. I'm entangled, you're entangled, we're entangled. Let's stay entangled. I'm entangled, we're entangled. Get the detangler. Need to entangle.
Hypnotize My Heart, Detangler there by Ariel Zevon and Gahlord Dewald. So my first question's got to be, how did you two meet? You come from different musically genred backgrounds, and you seem to be combining, or at least so as much as I've heard of you both singly. So it's an unusual collaboration from my perspective. So maybe you could help me understand that a little bit more.
Sure. Maybe we can.
Maybe we can, right.
Yeah, we actually, we knew each other kind of, not
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
We went to the same college some years ago.
Just yesterday, as it were.
So we both went to Marlborough College and kind of knew of each other, but didn't
We overlapped briefly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so when, I think through social media and other musicians, it was like, oh yeah, I know who he is.
Yeah.
He's the guy who plays the double bass with the long hair and the ponytail and the glasses.
Yeah.
He's that
Which
guy.
doesn't really like narrow it down.
It doesn't,
because
there's a lot
it's
of
like
that.
double
Yeah.
bass player
Yeah.
with a ponytail. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah, and then we were, Gaylord came into a group that I was trying to work with for a little brief moment, and then that fizzled, and then he said he didn't have time at that time. So a little bit while later, I decided to try again and say, so do you really not have time? Or
Yeah.
do you think you might have a little time?
Yeah. And you were like, oh, I kind of want to do my stuff, but like a little bit more experimental. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I've got lots of time for that. I've got time for that. Oh,
Suddenly
okay.
you had lots
then
of
I
time.
suddenly like, oh, my calendar's wide open. You know.
Were you a bit more arm's length when you were imagining it was going to be more folk?
Well, just what I do is pretty, specific and unusual. And sometimes people are like, oh, I need a bass player. And I'm like, roots and fifths and stuff, which I love doing. But there are lots of people that can do that. And so I try to focus on the things where someone's like, oh, I want you to do that thing that you do, And that's what it felt like Ariel was asking for. And so I was like, yeah, let's do that. I'd love to do that. So I've been, I feel really lucky that she's allowed me to kind of run with her material, with her songs. And, and collaboratively, we've been kind of building it out with the electronics and with the bass kind of being all over the place in its kind of free improv way. So it took me a while to realize, oh, yeah, that's what she wants. And so once it got through my skull, then I was like, yeah, let's do it.
And Ariel, I keep mentioning you kind of come from a more folky background, and which I hope I'm characterizing that correctly. If I'm not, please let me know.
Well, yes, sure. 70s music can be sort of broad-stroked called folk music.
I suppose I was listening to your folk duo album earlier, so I suppose that's kind of stuck more in my head than anything.
Folky. Yeah.
That came out in 2017 called Marshlands. And as I understand, I had a little look on your website today, and you a few years back went out into the sticks and started living off grid, and that all kind of goes hand in hand with that unplugged traditional style of music. So what was the spark that made you think, I don't want to take this in an electronic, I want to take this in an experimental direction?
Well, I don't know if I really had that specific thought, because I don't ever really know how to categorize my stuff, my music. So it is, I definitely am influenced by a great variety of music, from folk to bizarre land and avant-garde and crazy. So, and my background before this lifetime, before having kids and homesteading and all of that, was theater, and it was very much avant-garde theater and paving, improvisational and cutting edge, and always trying to bust through, new territory on stage and stuff. So in that sense, the experimental style and improvisational style of music makes sense. What I love about working with Gaylord is that as a musician, I am not able really to improvise much because I'm not, and I say this and it sounds like I'm being disparaging, but I'm just not a very talented pianist or guitar player. So I can't just like start ripping off scales and going all over the place and doing whatever. And so I can just do what I do, which is very simple. And when Gaylord accompanies me, all of a sudden it sounds like this wild ride of...
It's funny that you say it, 'cause I always think of it almost the other way around, where it's like the kind of playing that I do, it's hard to find other musicians that are able to like hang on for the ride in a way. So like some of my other improv friends will be like, oh, what's that like? You're playing in that folk duo, they're kind of like in the other direction. And I'll be like, well, you wouldn't believe she's got this rock solid sense of time. I can do whatever I want, and she's gonna land right where it needs to land.
That's
which
all she knows how to do.
Well, I know, but it for me as a player, it frees me right up.
Yeah.
Normally as a bass player, I'm like, okay, I got to keep everyone in line or whatever, and watch out for the person who's dragging or rushing or whatever. But with you, it's just like your time is so locked in that I can like dance around the beat all I want, and it's not
Fantastic.
going anywhere. So
it's because when I'm
like
playing,
it.
I'm just like, just play
yeah,
the thing. Just play the thing that I wrote.
it works
Don't
for me.
deviate, because if I
Yeah.
deviate, I lose it.
Yeah.
It works.
It works
Anyways,
out.
it
So
works.
that's how it works.
And Gaylord, your kind of solo music and the music that you create with Community of Sound is very kind of roots improvisational, very experimental, very avant-garde, as if you kind of alluded to, Ariel. So this is a lot more, bit more surface level than what I'm used
Verses
to.
and choruses. and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. There's a lot more structure to it than I'm used to listening to you from your kind of music.
Yeah.
So how does playing with Ariel feel in terms of you taking a step, as you said, kind of more towards this folk level?
Well, a lot of this stuff that I think about is like the texture of sound and what, how the sounds sort of feel in your ears, So that's the stuff that interests me most about music. And one of the nice things about working with Ariel's lyrics is that the lyrics are often, they have some crazy, interesting allusions to texture and ideas. So it's trying to like, for me, I'm taking the lyrical content and the structure and saying, well, if I wasn't going to do normal roots and fifths, but I was still going to have a structure, like this will be the part with the weird spectral bowing, and this other part will be the part with the crazy fly all over the place pizzicato lines, and to give those distinctions in form through texture rather than through harmonic progression, because Ariel's nailing it to the wall with the harmonic progression. I don't have to worry about that. I can just be purely textural sounds. And I think like within the larger music universe, like if you look at the quote unquote lo-fi rap scene or any of that stuff, the SoundCloud music, like there's tons of this kind of thing going on with found sound and field recordings and other kinds of things blending in to different kinds of music. So why not this, I guess, is sort of, that's my take on it.
Does this open up the door for you in terms of working in other styles of music, or is this as far as you go when it comes to structure?
This might be as far, I mean, if someone gets me a gig with some pay, I'll play roots and fifths, like I'm totally love doing, stuff like that on occasion. But if I'm going to be spending my time, we all have a limited time on Earth. So if I'm going to spend some of it making some stuff, I'd rather focus on the things where it's really about my personal contribution to it, as opposed to being like a functional role bass player, which I think is a fantastic thing to do, but it's just, it's not my bag. And I think like a lot of these songs that Ariel has lend themselves to some of these kinds of treatments in a way that's fun, and I'm grateful that she lets us do it, So.
And so far, from what I've listened to you two together, you taking music from your solo album, Ariel, and creating this new sound. Is that where the base of you two coming together is, or are you creating new music as well? And when I say new music, I don't mean to be disparaging, but rather than adapting the music you already have, are you guys creating
we
fresh
do
tunes?
actually more new tunes than we do off. And like the rest of what we have for you tonight, none of it. No, there's one other song that's off the Detangler, and the rest is all other new stuff.
So how do you...
I have to note, it's Ariel's. Ariel's the songwriter. I'm adding my elements, but the songs are Ariel's.
With that in mind, how do you craft one of your songs together? If you're the songwriter, is it the case that you write what you would write for like a traditional Ariel song and then bring it to Gahlord, or are you two collaborating hand in hand from the beginning?
So far, it's been, I have songs that I've written and I bring them to the table and say, here, what do you want to do with them? Yeah. And I think one of the reasons I did have the strong inclination to reach out to Gahlord again was because I was starting to write songs that I wanted to have a lot more depth and stretchy weirdness to them. And I wasn't able to do it on my own necessarily. Like for when I write a song, it's a pretty straight song. So I needed help stretching them out and making them weird and go into territories that had more flavors that I couldn't get on my own.
Is it kind of in the same way that you can stare at a blank page and imagine a Picasso, but you can't paint it yourself? If you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Are you imagining? Are you composing it in your head, but it's just not?
Yeah.
You just don't have the tools.
Yes.
To stick them on paper.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you? I mean, this is Greek to me. I mean, this is as far as what Dewald does, especially. How do you communicate between each other in terms of what you want? Because to me, it's like looking into the cosmos, listening to your songs. I couldn't even begin to try and describe what it is. So how do you communicate this between each other?
I'll take it.
Yeah,
So
please.
Ariel will usually bring in a song and I'll be like, well, play it. She'll play it, and she'll often give me the chord changes for it. So I'll have the written out music up here, and then I'll experiment with some ideas based on what I'm hearing in both the lyric and the melody, and what kinds of things I can do to stretch it out in different ways. And then it's like, hey Ariel, how about this or how about that, and kind of hammer it out in that way. And then also thinking of it as in terms of this whole like body of work, or I think of it like a song cycle almost. It's a collection of these pieces from Detangler, but also this new material that Ariel is writing, and then how do they fit into the flow of the set, and like which textures do I want to apply, like almost like in a classical music relationship where you'd have a composer and an orchestrator or arranger. So a composer might nail down the melody and the changes and so on, and then the orchestrator sits down and says, okay, this part's going to go to the cellos and this part's going to go to the percussion or whatever. And I think about what I'm doing as like an orchestration of her composition.
Well,
that's what's happening in my head while we're doing that.
That's totally, I would agree.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear another song from you.
Sure.
So what have we got?
Okay.
Should we keep going down the list, or should we skip through?
I don't know. Maybe we should.
Maybe we should do the French song.
Yeah. So this is a new one. That's not from the Detangler.
We should just give up on the set list. That's what I
Give up on the set list. We're giving up.
It's like-
See, we're improvising.
Exactly.
Here we are,
There we are.
going off the rails. He's the one who came up with the set list.
I know, right?
Just-
It's like,
He had this brainy
yeah, well, that's
idea.
great. It was
We're
a
gonna
great
do
set
this,
list.
and
Oh, well.
so this song is in French because I speak French. Gaylord doesn't, but he's still riffing off of it somehow.
Quand la mer embrasse le ciel, quand les étoiles plongent sous la terre et l'univers tourne à l'envers, quand la lune attrape le soleil, quand la fleur meurt pour réensemencer et les statues commencent à danser, tous nos espoirs, on peut y croire, y a rien à savoir, seulement à voir. Quand la fleur meurt pour réensemencer, quand les sables s'envolent sur le vent et nos prières reflètent dans notre temps, quand nos larmes se transforment en arc-en-ciel, quand la terre nage avec les nuages et mon âme est devenue sage, y a plus besoin que la raison rime si on prend bien soin, tout est sublime. Quand la mer remplit le ciel, quand les cailloux sont doux comme la laine, et quoi qu'on veut, c'est plus la peine, tous nos espoirs, on peut y croire, y a rien à savoir, seulement à voir.
The French song by Ariel Zevon and Gahlord Dewald. And so is it officially titled The French Song?
It is.
It is officially titled The French Song.
Yes.
And as I understand it, Ariel, you grew up speaking French more so than your native English. You went to French schools and to speak French around the house.
Not around the house. My parents are American. I grew up with my mom, and I was horrified by her French, by her terrible accent, American accent, when she spoke French, so I did not allow her to speak French. At home. We only spoke English.
It was very nice of her to acquiesce.
Yes. Yes. But I was more French than I was American outside of that. Yeah.
Does writing in French allow for more freedom, less freedom, or is it just a a different set of rules when you're writing a song in French?
It's kind of funny because I feel like I'm stretching myself nowadays because I don't ever speak in French anymore. I've been in the States now for a long time and have only returned a couple times in the last 20 years, really, a few times. So, when I was up until college, I was French minded and French thinking and French dreaming, and it came much more fluidly to me than English. And now that it's been a long time since so it's a funny, so now I sort of can't speak either language very well. So when it's almost like an exercise to go back to, but because it's sort of my home heart, my childhood home, French definitely has a nostalgia for me, and it brings up a very different flavor when I have written songs in French. And, it's French, it's very poetic and lovely. So the songs tend to come out poetic and lovely. So when I want to make a nice, lovely song, I try to write it in French.
Do you sit down ever writing something in English and then it occurs to you you should write it in French, or vice versa?
No, the French songs have just come because, the same, I guess, is that I have a thought or a phrase that sticks in my head, and that's what the song comes out of, or a feeling. But the feeling, there's usually a phrase or a word attached to the feeling, and it will either be in English or in French.
I see. And as a duo, how long have you guys been making music for?
Not terribly long. Not very long at all.
I mean, we did that run of shows in like June.
Yeah, summer, and we've been meeting regularly.
Regular since before that, but
yeah,
8 months. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
So fairly new to the duo. Although you say 8 months, must have been just after your album came out.
The Marshlands.
Yeah, the Marshlands.
Yeah, it was around then.
Yeah.
And did you prepare too much beforehand before you went out live and did it on stage, or did you take up Gahlord's kind of ideology of turning up and improvising?
No, those ones we did fairly straight.
Yeah. Although, straight, we didn't bring electronics.
Yeah.
But the parts.
I let Gahlord be Gahlord.
Yeah.
I never tried to not let Gahlord be
Yeah.
Gahlord.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have asked him to play with me if I didn't want him to be who he was and play the way he plays.
That was fun because I was able to play freely over the material, and we did it at this great punk place in Littleton called the Loading Dock, which I tell all of my Burlington punk friends and non-punk friends about. It was a fun venue, and they loved it there. And we played it in some dinnery cafe kind of environment, and I was kind of curious, how's this gonna go over? And they loved it. A couple older ladies at the table stopped over. I'm like, that was really interesting. They were into it.
True.
So that was encouraging, to do that. But we get together regularly to do the music, and it even though I'm making up my parts as I'm playing them, the rehearsal time is actually really important because it gives me a chance to hear how Ariel is interpreting the song at any given day, which is usually, it's consistent, but some days are, sometimes it's faster, some days are slower or whatever, and to feel out what the range of material there is. Learning how to respond to her vocal gestures and how she's playing is that's worthwhile time spent as an improviser. So, I don't know. I don't know if that answers the question.
No, somewhat at least. And where do you see you guys continuing on as a group? Have you got other shows coming up? Are you going to release an album? Is that something that you can exclusively reveal on Big Heavy Wolf?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, there's several different things developing in the works, I would say. We are recording, or we're starting. I'm recording currently in Middlesex another album, and Gaylord has contributed some
Playing to that.
And then we are talking about recording just the duo stuff.
Yeah, kind of the more outside version of things.
Yep. And
Put together more live shows.
yeah.
Now, you're both relatively experienced with recording albums. You've done two yourself, Gaylord. I feel like you're probably constantly recording. It's just the nature of your being.
Yeah.
So I usually save this question for first timers, but what about the recordings you've done so far together is going to influence the way that you're recording in the future? Is there anything that you two have discovered about each other that have become a surprise and is now going to change the path that you originally thought you were going on?
It's a very complex question.
Yeah.
I think one thing that, and this is sort of a trajectory I've been on for a while, but really honoring the live recordingness of things, like to balance recording things in parts with overdubs and carefully composed moments, which, like with the modular synthesizer, is sometimes an approach that's useful to take. You can lay down some things, you could, and then perform over it. Like a traditional recording path might be to, lay down the drums and then lay down the music and then lay down the bass line. Whereas things like the French song that we just performed, it just wouldn't, like the bass part doesn't exist until she sings. The bass part and the singing happen at the same time. And so to do them separately is complicated. So trying to balance the like external elements that we'd like to add into the experimental kind of recording, while also honoring the spontaneous liveness of kind of the moment of the recording. And I'm lucky with like Community of Sound because we essentially have a reverse studio, so I don't have to book time and like get everything perfect in one take. We could do the French song 75 times and just pick the one we like, as opposed to trying to rehearse it to be exactly the same. That's sort of what I'm thinking about with how we want to record some of these pieces.
When you guys do record as a duo, are you planning on recording in the Community of Sound studio space, or are you going to go to your studio in Middlesex or the studio that you use? What's the plan for this?
Well, I think right now there's both. Like Ariel's already begun work on the album in Middlesex that I've contributed to, and then the experimental stuff I'm guessing we'd probably record at Community Sound, but also like find a way to get Bennett's a really good recordist too, so trying to find ways to implement. I'm just making this up on the cuff to some degree. Keep looking over here.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like just keep a lot of plates spinning all the time and see what takes off. Because I actually am also talking to Christina Stikos, who recorded the Detangler, about doing more at her place, Pepperbox Studio. And Gaylord doesn't even know this, but we've already said, and maybe Gaylord will come do this too.
Gaylord will.
So yeah. So I think I don't know, I'm a person who has to keep.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like, it ties into some interesting moments in the music industry or the world in general, where there's the first version of a song or a version of a song, but then there's how many different flavors of it. Like Lil Nas can make Old Town Road, but then he can make it again, and then he can make it again. He wrote one song, and he can ride that song, as it were, in multiple different ways.
Definitely, it feels like.
Yeah, right? Like he could just keep releasing it, and we'll all keep listening to it. And I feel that a lot of music is that way, where there isn't like one definitive version of it. There's lots of different ways to feel a song. And so, like, I think what Ariel's doing, working with different production methods and producers, makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's probably about time for another song.
Sure.
So what you got for me?
What are you gonna pick this time?
I don't know. We could do Fickle Heart or Bed of Coals or...
Yes, those are all on the list.
Those are all on
that
the
we have
list.
abandoned.
That we've abandoned. I see.
So,
Or,
You just do the spin around and point method.
spin and point. Let's do Fickle Heart.
okay. So this is actually another one off Detangler, but it sounds a little different.
Play with fire if you wanna get burned. You stepped out of line, boy, it wasn't even your turn. Drawn in apart.
My Fickle Heart there by Ariel Zevon and Gahlord Dewald. So Ariel, you mentioned that you are creating another album, another solo album. Is that right?
Yes.
And I was curious, creating that album, have you noticed your style has changed at all after working with Gahlord? Dewald. Just gonna smash the two names together there.
Anything but late for supper. That's
Interesting question. Well, I definitely, I mean, the more you practice a craft, an art, the more you evolve. So, of course, we've been working really pretty regularly together. And so, of course, that's developing me as an artist, and the way that I'm creating. And yeah. So, yes. The answer would be yes.
I suppose literally every moment of your life influences the next moment of your life in some way or another.
But you also, as an artist, you want to work with people that push you and challenge and expand. And so I think it's kind of silly, but we keep thanking each other for working together. But I thank him all the time because that's definitely, it's really exciting when you find someone that does that helps expand and push and create new things. I mean, it's not art if it's not creating new, breaking territory or whatever. Right?
right.
And as I understand it, you came to the music, creating music kind of not late to the game.
Oh, yes,
late to the game is
late
fair
to
to
the
say.
game.
So you were more of a performer, an actor prior to dabbling in music, and it wasn't until you kind of came up here and homesteaded and raised a family until you decided to get into music. So yeah, what was the spark that had you plunge in?
Yeah, I did everything but music. I avoided it a lot. I mean, it's not that I didn't play music and write songs. I always have, but I was very closeted about it. It's not something that I wanted anyone that I could expose. It just terrified me to expose it in any way. So, and then really, the bridge that allowed me to come out in public and do music was a series of things in my life, earth-shattering life changes, divorces, lost businesses, having children, and then the Occupy movement happened. And my mother, who's a diehard political activist, was living in a tent in Freedom Plaza in DC during the Occupy movement. And I started going down there, and I couldn't just go down there. I always have to do something, right? Like, I need a job if I'm going to go somewhere for any reason. I can't just be a marcher like everyone else. And so I started writing parody songs for the movement. And I would come, and I had a little street cube and a microphone. And I was still terrified to do this, but it was because I had a motivating factor that was like my contribution to the Occupy movement. And so I went and I did that, and that was sort of what broke through to be like, okay, I guess I'm just going to do this in public now and let people know that I sing and like to do it and write songs. And so that was it.
Does politics come into your music at all that you've
Sure.
created since then?
Yeah. We tend to not do those as much. But we do. We have done some. But yeah, I have definitely a strain of songs that are very politically oriented. And then some that are just sort of political. We have one on the set list.
We do have one on the set list.
So we
No,
can
maybe
do next.
we can save that one till last. And so let's talk a little bit about what's coming up next. Again, we kind of already alluded to it. You guys are hopefully getting in the studio and creating your own albums together as well as separately. But tell me a little bit about what you're doing live. How can people see you? What kind of presence have you got in the outside world?
Well, like we recently did a thing at Fringe festival locally.
Oh, I thought you meant the Edinburgh Fringe then.
No, that would.
We would
awesome.
like to do that. Let's
Awesome.
make that call.
Let's have that happen. Yeah, for the Burlington Fringe, which is also lovely.
Yes.
And we are kind of building out like a more like theatrical, like with costumes and lights and sets kind of version of performance for these for this material that Ariel has written. So we're working on that. We don't have like a specific deadline or place that we're gonna like premiere that. We should maybe do that and then
We're getting to it.
yeah.
I mean, it's we're developing the songs into a much more experiential show than just a gig. One of the things that I felt like when we tried those different styles of gigs in the summer, and they all worked. They did all work, but some were definitely more fun as far as being able to really like push and go out there. And that gave me and my theatrical background the desire to like really create something that was much more spectacular.
Yeah. And I think like taking advantage of the fact that you have like those skills and like let's throw them into the mix. That was sort of the thinking, that I had anyway. It was like, let's take advantage of that. It's not like late to the game or whatever with music. It's developing this other aspect that will also be beneficial to the show. So making like a show out of it.
And so that takes time. And so I think we made a decision to kind of dedicate time to create, to make that happen and not take as many
like
gigs in the
coffee
meantime.
shop
But
gigs or whatever. Yeah.
not that we're opposed to it.
Yeah, no, we'd love to. But like doing costume development and like how to perform in a costume of, that is involved.
It's kind of like taking something 2D and making it 3D.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely adding a dimension or two.
Now you have to focus on 6 sides rather than just the original
because-
one.
Yeah, because we both aren't already focusing on enough stuff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's kind of it. That seems to be the plan.
Wow, that sounds like it's going to be pretty incredible, and I look forward to seeing your names on a playbill at some point, so I can come see this theatrical performance. We've got about time for one more song, so what have you got to play us out with?
Should we do Black
Do you
Oil?
want to do Black Oil?
Let me just make sure I have my setting right. Okay. That.
I'm just sad. of black oil. Cry me a river of black oil. Today I'm just glad life's just a passing fad. The dogma is all hype. I guess I'm just not the type to smile while my heart's cracking, to leave the truth behind me forsaken. Cry me a river of black oil. Cry me a river of black oil. Harvest your poisons from the soil. Hope is everlasting while we toil, till we crash and burn and recoil. So cry me a river of black oil. Cry me a river of black oil. Cry me a river of black oil.
Black Oil by Ariel Zevon with Gahlord Dewald. Thank you guys so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you so much.
Not any time. Join us on the 4th of December when we got Roost and Haley Jane. We're going to be taking next week off for Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving, guys. This has been The Rocket Shop. I've been your host, Tom Proctor, and good night.